Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into the deep, surprisingly profound evolutionary history behind our clumsiest, most relatable everyday moments. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Those little fumbles, the dropped keys, the barely grazed knuckles. Well, it turns out there is an entire universe of biology, evolution, and neuroscience operating behind the scenes of those tiny mishaps, and we're going to break the whole shebang down.
So this whole exploration actually started with a really relatable question I saw recently on Reddit. A user just straight up asked, why do we automatically say ouch when we bump into something even if it didn't really hurt? And I mean, think about it. How many times have you dropped a pen or just gently bumped your knee against your desk and you immediately blurt out ouch before you've even registered whether or not you're actually in pain? It's such a fascinating quirk of human behavior. Like, why on earth do we act like we're injured when we are perfectly fine?
And this honestly just brilliantly illustrates a collective experience we all share. A top commenter, Reddit user Klojiru, absolutely hit the nail on the head. They pointed out that it's a conditioned response, and you reflexively say it before you've even processed what happened. It's literally a premature vocalization. Your body is basically firing off the alarm bell while your brain is still frantically trying to figure out if there's an actual fire. But to truly understand why our bodies are hardwired to do this, we really need to look at the underlying science.
Section 1. The ouch reflex, history and biology.
Linguistically speaking, the specific word ouch isn't actually all that old. It dates back to roughly 1837, and it comes from the Pennsylvania German ouch and the standard German word ouch. And of course, different cultures have different words for this. In Japanese, it's itai. In Tagalog, it's arai. But here is the crazy part. While the specific syllables we spit out are shaped by our culture, the reflexive, urgent sound we make, that is hardwired incredibly deep into our mammalian biology.
Section 2. Inside the pain center. Nociception versus pain.
All right, first things first, we've got to clear up a pretty massive biological misconception. We need to completely separate nociception from actual pain. So nociception is simply your sensory nerves doing their job. They detect a potentially harmful stimulus and send a data report up to your nervous system about the state of your tissues. That's it, it's just raw data. Pain, on the other hand, is the emotional, brain-generated experience. So nociception is the sensory input, and pain is basically your brain's emotional freakout based on that input.
So where is that ouch actually coming from? Well, deep inside your midbrain, there's this cluster of gray matter called the periaqueductal gray, or the PAG for short. And the PAG is like a master control center. It controls descending pain modulation, which means it can literally release endogenous opioids to suppress your pain. It triggers defensive behaviors like freezing in place or running away. But crucially, the PAG is a central hub that initiates and gates vocalizations across mammals. If you electrically stimulate it, it reliably evokes species-typical calls. So when you drop that pen, the sensory input rockets up, hits the PAG, and bam! Before your higher brain can rationally say, hey, chill out, that didn't even hurt, the PAG has already opened the gate and fired off an ouch. It's a literal survival mechanism, bypassing your conscious thought entirely.
Section 3. Nature's smoke alarm system. Survival at all costs.
So, why did evolution build us this way? Like, why create a system that is so twitchy, so eager to scream ouch at the absolute slightest bump? We really have to ask ourselves, why is pain so unbelievably intense, and why is it so prone to false alarms? Why does a tiny stubbed toe feel, for just a few agonizing seconds, like a catastrophic world-ending injury? Why are our nervous systems such absolute drama queens?
Well, the answer lies in something evolutionary biologists call the smoke detector principle. Just think about the math of survival for a second. The cost of a false alarm, yelling ouch when you didn't really need to, or vomiting when a toxin wasn't actually present, is basically zero. It's just the expenditure of a few calories and maybe a little mild social embarrassment. But the cost of a missed alarm, failing to react to a predator's bite or a lethal toxin, that equals certain death. Natural selection heavily favors a hair trigger system. Look, a smoke alarm that reliably wakes your family for a real fire is inevitably going to go off sometimes when you just burn the toast, right? Your premature ouch is just burnt toast. It's simply the price you pay for a system that is designed to keep you alive at all costs.
Section 4. Explaining the glitches, biological flaws.
Now, as brilliant as the smoke alarm system is, evolution is, well, it's a really messy process, and it leaves behind glitches. Sometimes the pain system takes things to a terrible, non-adaptive level, resulting in things like chronic pain. And the reason why is absolutely mind-blowing. Billions of years ago, our cells merged with ancient bacteria in this kind of marriage of convenience. Those bacteria eventually became our mitochondria, the powerhouses of our cells, but they still have their own DNA. So now, when your tissue is injured, cells break open and spill those mitochondria out. Your immune system's attack cells, called neutrophils, rush over to the scene. But neutrophils actually can't tell the difference between a real outside bacterial infection and your own spilled mitochondria. To a neutrophil, your mitochondria just smell like invading bacteria. So what do? They attack. They destroy healthy tissue, causing massive inflammation and chronic pain, completely by accident, just because of a billion-year-old biological design flaw. It's a pretty tragic glitch in our internal programming.
Section 5. The price of protection. Survival asymmetry.
Zooming out for a second to a much broader perspective, when we study evolution, we realize there is a massive asymmetry between pleasure and pain. They are not equal opposites. Missing out on a pleasurable experience, say not eating a super delicious piece of fruit, might be a total bummer, but it generally isn't instantly fatal. But missing a pain signal, failing to notice that your hand is literally in a fire, or that a predator has its teeth in your leg, that is immediately life-threatening. Because pain directly buys our survival, it exerts a much stronger, more intense, and way more endearing influence on our behavior than pleasure ever could. Pain is quite literally the harsh currency of survival.
The evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins actually summed up this profound, kind of sobering reality beautifully. He wrote, "In a universe of electrons and selfish genes, blind physical forces and genetic replication, some organisms are going to get hurt, others are going to get lucky, and you won't find any rhyme or reason in it, nor any justice. Nothing but pitiless indifference. Nature doesn't care about your personal comfort. Nature doesn't care if you're happy. It only cares that your species survives to pass on its genetic information. And it distributes pain with absolute, pitiless indifference just to make sure that happens." So, we started with a really simple, funny observation about dropping a pen and saying, ouch. But it turns out that tiny little syllable is a window into the ancient, deeply ingrained mechanics of our survival. It's a testament to a nervous system forged in a dangerous world, tuned to an absolute hair trigger just to keep you breathing. Next time you stub your toe or you bump your elbow and you instinctively yell ouch before it even hurts, will you take a split second to marvel at the millions of years of evolutionary engineering, those deep midbrain pathways and the ruthless calculus of survival operating behind that single clumsy reflex? It's definitely something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep questioning the little things.